Hey, and welcome back to Love Restore. I'm your favorite host, Marshaun Olaniyan. This is KCCR Brownstone Cityscapes. Thank you so much for being here. Listen, last week we talked about courageous love and under the umbrella of what it looks like. This week we are talking about courageous love and under the umbrella of what it feels like. Now, before we jump into what it feels like in courageous love, let's talk about Love Restored, why I decided to start it, and who I help. So let's talk about Love Restored. I decided to start Love Restored because I didn't get what I needed in order to choose and or be chosen by a great mate that would last the test of time. When I got into my marriage, I thought that I knew enough to be a married woman. And to a certain degree, I did. However, there was plenty of things that I did not know. There were plenty of mistakes that I made. There were plenty of red flags that I ignored because I just didn't have the language. I didn't understand that when somebody shows you who they are, believe them the first time. I moved forward in that marriage. Now, I will have to say, though, it wasn't the worst marriage out there. And I've heard of plenty of marriages that were worse and or are currently worse than that marriage was. However, it just didn't suit where I wanted to go in my life. So I decided to start working on myself because I talk about that here. It's all about you working on you and getting you together. And when I started to get me together, I noticed that there was some things that I shouldn't have been married in the first place. Now, let's be real. A lot of us shouldn't have gotten married the first time around, which is why the divorce rate is still over 50% for the first marriage, meaning divorce. The second marriage goes up to like 66 or 67%. And the third marriage is even higher, like 80 something, as far as the divorce rate. But a lot of people just don't have the tools. They don't have the language. They're not ready to be responsible or take responsibility. They're not courageous in showing up and allowing that ego and pride to be thrown out the window, out the door. They would rather win at the fight than win at being successful and healthy and breaking generational curses. That is why I decided to start Love Restored, because I'm about the business of breaking generational curses. Now, even though it didn't work for me, I do have a daughter. I also have nieces and nephews and also have friends. And so if I can pass along the tools, the strategies, the things that I didn't receive myself, that I know that work based off of other successful relationships that I know, like the people. It doesn't mean that their relationships were perfect, but they were willing to do the work to say, I was crippled in this area. And they both, now that's a thing, they both had to come to grips that they both brought some crap baggage, past wounds, hurts, experiences into their relationship slash marriage. But they decided we're not going to let this defeat us. So what is it that we need to do? Therapy, coaching, counseling, your pastor, like all of these things. They were like, I need to do that. Reading books, listening to podcasts, implementation, taking the action, doing the thing. So that's why Love Restored was started. Because if I can help you, if I can help you to be on your journey and be about your business of breaking your own generational curses, then I have filled my God-given purpose. Who do I help? I help Black women outside of Love Restored. I help and coach Black women be about the business of themselves, getting themselves together, getting you ready for a marriage that can last the test of time. Choosing, right? Being able to speak up for yourself, setting boundaries, not allowing people to walk all over you. Stop the people pleasing. Stop the external, I got it all together, nothing touches me. But then when you come to me as your coach, you're like, I have low self-esteem. I don't really have the confidence. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. That's who I help. If that sounds like you or someone that you know, then you can send me an email at marshaun@marshaunolaniyan.com and let's have a conversation about helping you to get out of and push past some of these things that are holding you back from attracting and even keeping the person that's meant for you in order for the toxicity to be gone and you have more positivity in your life. Now, without further ado, let's jump into courageous love and what that feels like. So, having courageous love or having the courage to love feels like a blend of vulnerability, exhilaration, and peace. It's a mixture of emotions that can range from intense joy to fear. Yet, it is rooted in a deep sense of growth, strength, and openness. All of that plays into the feeling. The vulnerability is going to keep coming up. That is a key, essential component to being courageous in your relationship or in your marriage. Vulnerability. But in this case, the feelings, it goes a little bit deeper. Exhilaration. And that beautiful peace. I want to ask you a question. The relationship that you're currently in and or your past relationship, the last one, the last two, whatever, wherever you're at, how much peace do you feel in that relationship? And let's bring it to you. How much peace are you bringing to that relationship? Aha. Right. We're not blaming. We're not blaming. We're not pointing fingers. Not only do you want to evaluate what the peace that he's bringing, how exhilarated or excitement do you feel when he walks in the room? How vulnerable have you seen him be with you? You must be willing to do all of those things and give all of those things too. You must. If you are not at peace, if you do not feel like you can show up and just be you, if you do not feel like you can have an ugly day just in the house, the two of y'all, the family, whatever. If you feel like you have to have a full face all the time, you are not at peace in your relationship. And it doesn't always mean that you are not at peace because of the other person. This could be all your junk. This could be all of your past wounds and hurts and experiences that you're bringing into the relationship. He may not know this side of you because of that V word. Yes, vulnerability. How vulnerable are you in your relationships? Yes, I'm talking about your romantic relationship, but I'm also talking about the relationship with your child or children. I'm not depending on the age. I'm not saying that you have to go down a rabbit hole of telling them all your things. But at the same time, if your experiences can help your child or children to not go down the same road, now, caveat, we know our babies, and some of them will take heed to the lesson and they don't have to go through it themselves. Unfortunately, there are others that must go through it themselves because you, as mama, as parent, don't know what you're talking about. We get that. All right. So we know some kids can just get it, meaning listening to your lesson experience and don't go down that road. And some of your other kids ain't going to get it. They must travel and figure out, or I should say, find out on their own. That's okay. Let's backtrack, backing up to this. Peace. How much peace are you bringing to your relationships? Now I'm talking about all of them now. Do you have the internal peace in yourself? Do you feel at peace when nobody else is around? This is something that clients of mine have struggled with. And I cannot emphasize this enough. Until you can sit in the room by yourself or be at home alone, and not feel lonely, you are going to struggle with creating and maintaining a healthy relationship that can stand the test of time. If you feel like you need to always be in somebody else's presence and you never allow yourself to sit alone, to sit in silence, to hear or allow the junk, the things that come up when it's quiet, come up for you and you feel those feels, you are going to have a tough time getting to any next level in any of your relationships. I've seen it play out personally. The romantic relationship is in shambles. But guess what? Your toxicity starts to bleed over into other areas of your life, in your friendships. How many of your friends have deserted you? For those of you listening, I did air quotes for deserted. How many people have walked away from you and you have no idea why? You may be toxic. You think you're more peaceful than you actually are. They're not exhilarated. They're not excited. They're not enthusiastic when you're around. You may be the person that is draining them the most, and you don't even realize it. As I mentioned last week, you are the only common denominator in all of your relationships. So now, let's talk about the 6 areas and what it feels like to be courageous in love. As I mentioned before, vulnerability is going to keep coming up. So let's just start with that one. Vulnerability with safety. That's the difference. You might feel exposed as though you're allowing someone to see part of you that you've kept hidden. But there's a sense of tenderness in opening yourself up. But when it's reciprocated, it feels like safety and trust, right? We talked about trust last week as well. But this is vulnerability with safety. Ask yourself, am I or do I allow my partner to just show up and be vulnerable with me? Or am I the person that criticizes or belittles or overtalks or just act like you didn't even hear him say the thing? So those moments of wanting to connect where you lean in versus those moments of not connecting or disconnection, right? And Dr. John Gottman talks about this. He says that these are bids for connection or bids for love. And what he found in his research is that the couples that stand the test of time, that last the longest, he didn't say perfect relationships because there are none, but the couples that last the test of time, those that when they notice that their partner or spouse is bidding for connection, they lean in, they connect. And what he also noticed the flip side, which is those that end up divorcing or breaking up, and I'm pretty sure it's just divorce, they have a significantly less rate of connecting with the bids. And so, for an example of what a bid looks like, is say, for instance, your partner or spouse is watching a movie and they happen to verbally say something, wasn't necessarily talking to you about it, but something like, "Oh my goodness, look at this," or this bird, look at this bird to do whatever. Like I'm saying random stuff because I don't have a prime example. But the point is when your partner or spouse kind of yells out something just randomly or literally says, "Hey babe, come look at this. Hey babe, let me ask you this." And the people that stay connected stop what they're doing, or they'll say something like, "Hey, give me 2-3 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever." And then they go and interact. That's that connection. That's the bid. That's the leaning into what your spouse is asking for. That's him knowing that he can be vulnerable with you about whatever the topic is that he's bringing up in that moment. Now, those who stay disconnected or eventually divorce, they either ignore him, right? He ain't even saying nothing. They ignore him, or they belittle the thing, make them feel small, make them feel stupid, make them feel like, why did I ever say anything to her about this particular thing? And then that's where the distance and the disconnection. And when I'm coaching people, they're like, we're so distant. How many bids are you leaning into? And or because I do know that it does take two. So this might not be all you, right? You literally might be the person that's always trying to make the connection. So I get it. However, I want to focus on you. So, how much safety are you allowing in your relationship? Do you feel like, and really you can really gauge if your partner feels safety and with being vulnerable with you is how often they do it with you, or has it been a very long time and you're like, dang, I don't know the last time I seen them being vulnerable. I've never seen him cry. I've never seen him feel like or look like he just doesn't have it together. There's something wrong with that. And that's something maybe you, but again, I get it. It takes two. So it may be the other person, right? His baggage that he's bringing. But just think of what you have control over. How much safety in the relationship do you have in order for them to feel like, yeah, I can be vulnerable with my spouse? The second way, courage and feeling like the feeling of courage is the excitement with uncertainty. See, because love can bring butterflies, excitement, and anticipation for the future. But guess what? There's also a lingering awareness of uncertainty. It's accepting that there are no guarantees, but still moving forward with hope. There are no guarantees in life. Literally, actually, I'm taking that back because we know that there are guarantees in life. It's just ones that we don't like. Guarantees that there is going to be changes. There are going to be changes. That's the only guarantee in life, is that something is going to change. There is going to be a life happening that is going to happen in your life. Life be lifing, as they say. Something is going to come up that you have no control over. But you still can be excited to be in the relationship. You can be excited to have a surprise. I know some people don't even like surprises. Don't surprise me. Now, I don't like to be surprised. What? Where is the joy and excitement in not being surprised? Surprises make me know that you were thinking about me. You did this. I was the special person on your list that you decided, made a conscious decision to do the thing for. Yes. It's also not controlling every aspect or needing to know all of the things. You can't know all of the things. It don't work like that a lot of times. So being able to just be excited about your life without having to know every single detail. There some uncertainty has to be there. It has to be there. So excitement with uncertainty. The third way to feel courageous love is by liberation or liberating, right? When you have the courage to love, there's a freeing feeling in letting go of fear or hesitation. You're no longer holding yourself back, and that release can feel empowering. That's where the liberation or liberating feeling comes from. By you just like, listen, this me. This it, baby. I can let go and just be me. I can show up and just be me. I'm not worried about if I look well and put together every single solitary day in my life, including when I'm just lounging around the house. I just want to be. I don't want to always have to be on in order to be in this relationship. I want to be free. I want to be able to have discussions, whether we agree or not. Are we grown enough to say the thing, even if it don't hit right, even if y'all have a discussion, because I don't like to say argument, because the emotional intelligence needs to be there. And let's be real, a lot of people are not emotionally intelligent. And that's just the truth of it. I am not trying to be ugly. It's just true. Some people are not. That's where we at. Some people are not. But how liberated do you feel in the room with your spouse? Do you feel, I mean, I'm about to be a little TMI, right? Do you feel like you can go in there and just let some gas out and he's not making you feel like you're a disgusting pig or whatever, the filthiest thing on earth? Like, for real, it's human. We be farting all the time. Most people hide it, but can you go in a room and fart? Like, or do you always have to be on? Can you burp? Like, can you be your disgusting self? The disgusting self that you hide behind closed doors in your home. Can you be that person in your home? Even if the world never sees you that way, can you be liberated in your own home? And right? Because everything is a two-way street. Does your spouse feel liberated around you? Or do they feel like they always have to be on with you? Two-way street. We ain't blaming, we ain't shaming. We're taking accountability and responsibility for the things that we have control over. The fourth way to feel courageous in love is by strength in softness. It feels like being strong enough to remain soft. It takes courage to choose compassion and empathy, even in the moments where it would be easier to shut down and to protect yourself. You can be strong and yet still being soft. You don't have to always show up and be the tough person, have on your armor. You don't. Showing up with compassion and empathy, putting yourself in the other person's shoes, understanding where they're coming from, or at least trying your very best by asking curious questions, just so you can get a better understanding of who it is you are creating life with, or procreating with, or across the table from, or lying next to, etc. You get the point, right? It's strength and softness. It's strength in your femininity. That's why we have the opposites, the masculine and the feminine. How feminine can you be? Or do you feel like you always have to take on the masculine energy in your relationship? There is strength in softness. There is. And it's not just that, as I just mentioned, there's the compassion and empathy as well. Especially, especially when you want to shut down, especially when you want to create, or I should say, start that toxic behavior of shutting down, that toxic behavior of the silent treatment, that toxic behavior of walking away. It's harder to face what's actually happening. It's harder to ask those tough questions. It's harder to allow the person to act a damn fool and you're sitting there in silence listening to them. That's hard to do. And then giving them the space to have their temper tantrum and you don't participate at all. You say something to the effect of, you know what, I understand. It looks like you're very angry. Maybe we should table this for now and then come back when the both of us are ready to have an adult conversation. That's tough to do in the moment. And most of us, let's be real, most of us would fail in that moment. The fifth way to show up and be courageous is emotional intensity. See, love brings about heightened emotions, both the joy of connection and the fear of losing it. And having the courage to love means accepting these intense emotions without running from them. And then the sixth way to show up and feel that courageous love is by grounding and uplifting. And what that means is while love can feel like a high, it also provides a sense of grounding. Knowing that you are capable of loving deeply and being loved in return gives you a firm foundation from which to grow. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the 6 ways to feel that courageous love. This is the 6 ways to feel that courageous love. Because there are so many of us that are in relationships or even in marriages where we're not courageous enough. We're not showing up. We're not being vulnerable. We're not allowing the femininity to come over us and allowing when we come inside the house to leave our masculinity outside the door. We're entangling all of that into the relationship. And that is one of the reasons why the relationship is not lasting. Yeah, but it's okay. That's why we're here. Take what you need, apply it to your life, apply it to your situation or relationship or marriage, wherever you're at, and notice the difference. And be willing to give what you ask for. Don't allow it to be one-sided, where you're asking for all these things, but when it's your turn to give them, you won't budge. That's a recipe for disaster. That's absolutely a recipe for it not lasting the test of time. That's a recipe for sis, you being the toxic person in the relationship. And we're trying to break these curses that we have over us. That means going to get the help, seeking out the help that you need. Talking to a coach. Hello? Shameless plug. You need some help with any of this? I help Black women get out of their own way so they can stop being mediocre and attract the relationship that they want. And especially starting with the relationship with yourself. Because if you're not together, sis, it does not matter who you attract, that fine man, you're not going to be able to keep him because you ain't ready for him. I'm helping you get ready and beyond. Helping you to get ready and beyond. That sustainability as well. This is Love Restored, y'all. Thank you so much for being here for these past 30 minutes. It really means the world to me. How courageous are you going to be? Now, that is the question. The courage to love is a paradoxical feeling of both risk and reward, where fear and joy coexist. But the desire to love overpowers the fear of the unknown. And the fear of the unknown is a topic within itself because so many people stay stuck because of that very fear that they have. I love you guys, and there's nothing that you can do about it. If you need some help and would like to see what coaching with me looks like and how we can incorporate that into your life so you can get from where you're at today to where you truly want to be tomorrow and beyond, email me. Send me an email at marshaun@marshaunolaniyan.com. And let's have the discussion about coaching and what that looks like and what that's going to look like for you, because I tailor them to you. I do not run cookie cutter programs because each of us are at different stages and we're going through different things in our lives and our needs are just different. I help you with getting what it is that you need in order to propel your life to the next level. All right. So if you need some help, reach out. Thank you so much for being here. This is Courageous Love and what it feels like. If you did not listen to Courageous Love and what it looks like, the previous episode, then I highly recommend that you do that. I cannot wait to jump deeper into this season And we are going to roll into the next topic of courageous love next week. I will see you guys then. Thank you so much. I am Marshaun Olaniyan, and this is KCCR Brownstone Cityscapes. I will see you next time, and or for those who are listening, talk to you